Hello everybody and welcome to the Weather Studio Live. I'm Alex Deakin.
And I'm Aidan McGibbon.
And we go live every Friday from Met Office HQ. And yeah, this week we're going to be talking about all kinds of different things. The run up to Christmas in particular. Full disclosure, it was our Christmas do last night. So we were out a little later than normal, weren't we?
Yeah, but we were very sensible, very professional, given that we were working today, of course. It wasn't too crazy.
No, it wasn't too crazy at all, but you know, just so you're aware.
That's why we look so fresh-faced.
Absolutely. But we want you to get involved. We'd love your questions about Christmas, about climate, about anything to do with the weather. What are you up to this weekend? Let us know and we will give you a bespoke forecast as well. We'll also have the quiz.
Yeah.
Didn't have a quiz last week because Storm Dara kind of took over, but the quiz is back this week, so we will be doing that also. What have you been up to this week, Mr. McGee?
Well, at the start of the week, we were talking about Storm Dara, of course. It was a very, very impactful storm and caused all sorts of disruption and damage, sadly, across the UK at the weekend. So we were covering that at the start of the week. And talking about the 90 mile per hour wind gusts in excess of 90 miles an hour across parts of Wales and the southwest. And then we were looking ahead to this calm week of weather that's now occurred, but not necessarily sunny for all of us.
No, it's been a bit gloomy, hasn't it? People are talking about anticyclonic gloom again, particularly in the south. It's been quite sunny across Scotland and Northern Ireland, so the first half of the week we've seen some pretty hard frost. So we've had quite a contrast through this week. We've had a busy week. We had the Met Office Awards yesterday, so lots of people in the building yesterday. Were 1,000 people. That was good fun. And earlier this week, we had a special guest. Sophie Pavel came in, and she was lovely. She was great to talk to, kind of an environmentalist, science communicator, and I can't recommend her book because I haven't read it yet, but if you are looking for a Christmas present, I think it would be quite a good one. I put it on my Christmas list, Forget Me Not, so by Sophie Pavel. So she came in, it was lovely to meet her, and I'm looking forward to getting that book for Christmas and reading it in the new year.
Brilliant. Speaking of Christmas, we've already had a question, haven't we, about Christmas?
Yes, we have already had a question in already this week. Jamie Hamilton, hi. Any hints of snow in the run-up to Christmas and throughout the holiday period for Norfolk/Suffolk? Great detail. I love that kind of stuff. Yes. Wait, stay tuned, because we've got the snowometer.
State-of-the-art technology being unveiled right here. The snowometer hooked up to the supercomputer. That's going to give us the answer later on.
Speaking of supercomputer, a couple of questions from last week. So if you're not watching this live, and many people don't, that's absolutely fine. Keep your questions coming in because we do check them. So we've got some questions from last week. How often does the Met Office model run? Ashdown Mad asks.
It's getting old. Not as often as it used to for us to walk these days. Kidding.
The weather gags.
No, it's... yeah. I think a few people have dropped off after that one. It runs 6 hourly for the global model and a little bit more frequently for various higher resolution models and ensemble runs. But we're still on the supercomputer that we've been using for some time. I know that there was a lot of publicity about the new Met Office supercomputer, but of course these things take a while to build and to develop. And it is going to get underway. Coming next year, and once it's fully up and running, we'll have more frequent model runs and more of these ensemble runs. So when it's run, we'll have more simulations, and that will give us a greater idea of the probability of certain weather events. We'll be able to look further into the future and get greater detail on the impacts of certain weather types. So that's very exciting for next year.
So the short answer to your question, Ashdown, it really depends on which model. But yeah, the global model runs every 6 hours. Some of the higher resolution model runs do run more frequently. But with the new supercomputer, they will run more frequently and they'll be higher resolution, so it should give better stuff. But yeah, Nice Knack asked last week, after watching the previous week's deep dive, should I give up on snow cover this winter in Cambridge? So you did the deep dive this week. Alex Burkle did the deep dive the week before, and that was all about the winter forecast, the 3-month outlook. Chris Bulmer, our deputy chief, was involved in that, so he was talking about the longer range forecast and the 3-month outlook, which is it's more likely than not to be, it was more likely than usual that it's going to be wetter and windier and milder. So there's a higher chance of that kind of winter than any particularly cold winter. But even within mild winters, you do still get cold spells. So Nick Knack was saying, should I get rid of, nice Knack, not Nick Knack, should he give up on any idea of snow cover in winter? That it's, you're still going to get cold spells. So there's still a chance of a colder spell in Cambridge at any time. You could get some snow, but the overall winter pattern looks, particularly from January into February, looks more likely to be mild.
When you take an average over 3 months and talk about what's more likely and what's less likely.
So don't give up on it just yet. I think we can probably put that deep dive, a link into that deep dive in the chat if George is on it. Thank you for that, George. And one more question from last week. Matt Livermore asked, hi Honor, can you tell us what your favourite type of weather is? Now, Honor's not with us here today. She'll be back next week. Next week's live. It's you and her doing it next week. So, but I did ask her today, and just so you know, Matt, Honor's favourite type of weather is thunderstorms. So there you go. There you go.
Me.
But keep your questions coming in. Keep them coming in this week. Ian Simmons, when will we see the sun in the south of England again?
Tomorrow. Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's have a look at the shorter term weather with what we're going for. But yeah, keep your questions coming in about this weekend or about anything like that. But yeah, Ian, so it doesn't say where he is. Ian, let us know where you are in the south of England. But yeah, broadly speaking, wherever you are, tomorrow at some point.
Here's the bigger picture. We've had this area of high pressure sitting over the north of the UK through the week, and an easterly breeze has brought a lot of low cloud to the south of England. So it's been a properly gloomy week in the south. Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland have enjoyed sunnier skies at times. But here's what's changing. Overnight, we've got this cold front sinking south. That's going to bring some rain into the northwest of Scotland, and it will bring some gusty breezes and that rain, some brighter dots there, some heavier bursts for a time before it sinks south. And what you can see is the rain just merges into this more general area of cloud and drizzly, patchy rain across England and Wales by 4 a.m. So it's petering out, but more importantly, the winds are changing and we've got clearer air arriving. So by dawn on Saturday, there's a bit of a north-south contrast across the UK. You can see some clear spells into eastern, southern Scotland, northeast England. As a result, temperatures are going to be dipping close to or a touch below freezing, a touch of frost across northern parts of the UK. Generally frost-free across southern areas because we've got all this low cloud. But, that didn't work. There we go. But, although it's going to be another grey and gloomy start to the day, it doesn't last long. Watch this. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. By lunchtime, most places are much brighter. So this is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can see southern England, eastern England, decent sunny spells by this stage. It flips for the northwest of the UK. We've got cloud returning across Scotland, Northern Ireland, and northern England by the end of the afternoon, and outbreaks of rain. And really, that's the setup for the next few days after that, because we've got these westerlies returning, and as you can see on Sunday at 2 o'clock, Monday, we've got this persistent rain starting to arrive into western Scotland, and that's going to really mount up through Sunday into Monday. These are the daily rain totals, and you can see these darker blues across western Scotland. So we're talking about 70 millimetres widely across western Scotland, northwest Scotland in particular, northwest Highlands, through Sunday into Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a rain warning in force at the moment because there's the risk in some of these spots of more than 150 millimetres of rain accumulating. The one saving grace for this area is that has been a dry period. It's not been as wet as it normally is through the autumn and early winter. Actually, rainfall totals for some parts of northwest of Scotland have been significantly down through November and early December. So the ground isn't too wet at the moment, but yeah, it's going to be a wet spell building up through Sunday into Monday and Tuesday. Meanwhile, further south, drier. I think Western Hills, Western Coast, still a lot of cloud by Sunday and Monday. but there'll be some brighter spells into the south and southeast. So it's turned on its head for the start of next week compared with what we've seen through this week. It's going to be greyest towards the northwest, wettest there, and windy as well. The wind gusts are showing up. These are the maximum wind gusts for Sunday into Monday, so exceeding 50 miles an hour across parts of Scotland there, and quite blustery over the Pennines as well, and perhaps to the east of the Pennines, the wind bouncing over the hills. So a blustery setup by the time we get to Sunday, Monday, wet weather accumulating over western Scotland, grey and damp in the west of the UK, brighter towards the southeast. Mild everywhere though. Look at how these temperatures are changing. We've got mid-single figures Friday, quite chilly under the grey skies. Saturday, a little bit higher as the sun starts to come through, but then we're back into the double figures nationwide on Sunday and Monday, not just by day, these are the overnight temperatures. So Sunday morning, a chilly start in places. Monday morning, look at that, 9s, 10s, 11s, significantly above average.
Interesting picking out the winds there across the Pennines. They're going to be quite gusty, isn't it? That's an area you need to keep an eye on, particularly over the course of the weekend. People travelling from the M62, that kind of thing. You're going to see some pretty lively gusts along there, as well as those strong winds to the north. But yeah, it's going to be bouncing over the hills, so over the Pennines, but also to the lee of the Pennines. There'll be some pretty lively gusts. So just bearing that in mind as well if you're travelling Sunday especially, but also into Monday. Philip Hugh asks, where are your Christmas jumpers? Which is it's a kind of a valid point, Philip. But I think next week, will be more of a festive theme next week. So yeah, watch out for some Christmas jumpers next week.
Yesterday was Christmas jumper day.
Was it? I think it seems to be always Christmas jumper day at some point, isn't it?
Well, yesterday was the day my daughters went to school with Christmas jumpers.
Okay.
I attended the Christmas party in a Christmas jumper.
Did,
I don't think you made an effort. Did you?
I was wearing a bow tie, man. I was, yeah. Shocking. But yes, you did have your Christmas jumper yesterday. But that's a very good point, Philip. But next week, we promise, we'll be in more festive attire. We do have a little bit of festivities on the bookshelves there, a few baubles and a few stars. And your book up there, which may have the answer to one of the questions we've already had in from Graham Williams. What is the biggest temperature difference in the UK, i.e. -5 in Scotland to 24 in London on the same day? So what's the biggest temperature difference ever recorded? We don't know it off the top of our heads, but it's a good question. But we think the answer may be in that book.
Yeah, and then we got the question just before we went live, and I was looking through the book, but I didn't have time to look it up. But yeah,
again, another. If you're looking for a Christmas present for someone, then why not look for the Very British Weather book, available in all good bookshops. Wild Violet. Hi guys, what's the weather like on Sunday morning and afternoon? I'm dog walking in Beverley. Oh, Wild Violet. My part of the woods. I was born just outside Beverley, so Beverley's just outside Hull for your information, Aidan. I'm sure you knew that.
I know where it is. Yes. In fact, I wonder if it pops up as a place name. As I zoom in, I don't think it will. No. But yeah, Sunday, was it? The dog walk?
Yes, Sunday dog walking Beverley.
It's cloudy, but mostly dry. You're in the right part of the country, I suspect, for mostly fine weather. It'll be more damp towards the west, over western parts of the UK and Western Hills in particular. Just a faint blue showing up there, so indicating that there could be a few spots of rain here and there. Mostly cloudy, much milder than it has been. Pop up a temperature. Look at that, 12s all over the place. So yeah, milder than it is at the moment, but grey again.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to hit subscribe. That would be good. Thank you very much. Hit the thumbs up button below us as well. That would be great. Don't forget to hit subscribe. We've got 305,000 subscribers now, I think, so we want to get that up. There's a bit of a competition between our TikTok channel and our YouTube channel. Who's got the most? TikTok's winning at the moment. We want YouTube to catch up. So share the love, let people know, hit the subscribe button. That would be great. Daniel's life. What is the hardest weather to keep track of? It's an interesting question.
Thunderstorms, I would say.
Would you? Yeah, thunderstorms to track.
To predict where they're going to happen.
Yes.
Exactly, because they are so, they can be so dependent on very subtle temperature increases and humidities and so on. And where you get a thunderstorm popping up in one location, it can limit a thunderstorm in another location because of updrafts and downdrafts and cloud cover cooling things off. And so, yeah, thunderstorms, once they get going, it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly where they're going to hit. You can say, talk about the potential for an area, but exactly where they're going to hit.
If you get a big one, if you get an MCS, then that can really mess the forecast. That's the time I can think of in the over recent years where a forecast's gone completely wrong or been particularly off, when you've got a big supercell that suddenly springs up and that completely changes the dynamics of the weather in like 100-mile area. So when you see one of those big thunderstorms develop rather than the smaller ones, if you get an MCS, that can really mess up a forecast.
Even if one of those forms on the continent, then it can spill some rain and cloud into the southeast, for example, and spoil what would otherwise be a sunny day. Yeah. Another obviously tricky thing to forecast is snow, and we've talked about that before. In fact, there's a 3-minute Met that we can hopefully put in the chat as well about why snow is particularly tricky to forecast, because there's lots of factors within that. But I think we're probably it's not as hard to track that, but it's just more on a knife edge one way or the other. So we can put that in the chat if you want to watch about why snow is hard to forecast, and we'll have more on the potential for snow on White Christmas in a moment. But first, a few more questions. Cheviot's in Northumberland, Carol C. What will the weekend weather? You kind of covered it already, but brightening up, brighter on Saturday with some sunshine, but colder, cloudy on Sunday, but milder. Worldwide cyclone tracking. Why are your forecasts so accurate outside of Europe? I live in Calcutta. For grooms? What? I'm not quite sure I understand that question, but anyway. There you go. I think it was a compliment.
I think it was a compliment, yes. Nice Knack has also asked this week, we answered his question from last week, discussing about the unusual temperatures we've seen. And I was speaking to a guy in Scotland, our Scottish forecaster earlier, about the inversion and why it's been so cold in the valleys, but actually quite warm. So there's a really strange vertical temperature profile, and it's actually been a lot warmer on the tops of the mountains than it has in the valleys, like +5, +6 on some mountain tops, and -5, -6 down in the valley. So we've seen a big range of temperatures, and bizarrely, it's kind of counterintuitive. The tops of the mountains have been warmer than the valleys, and that's due to what's called a temperature inversion. When you get high pressure, and actually the air sinks down, and you get that, and then the mountains poke out the top of that inversion, and there's a sudden jump in temperature. So it depends how high up you are, but if the mountains poke out the top of the inversion, then they are warmer than they are down in the valleys. Doesn't happen often, but it's quite interesting to see when you do happen. Another thing I noticed this week. 1,044, the pressure, a time across Scotland, which meant water would have been boiling at closer to 101 degrees Celsius than 100 degrees Celsius. Ooh. So if you're in Scotland this week, it cost you more energy to boil a kettle.
Or you had colder cups of tea.
Yeah, there's that point where, that is good. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We will have a quiz coming up any second now. One more question. Andrew Jones Maguire is asking about the warning system, and I think this is a fair point, Andrew. When Storm Dara hit on the website, his words, not mine, but the warnings page was an absolute mess. I think it's something we are aware of and we are working on, but there's some developments within VC, within our graphic system, which are going to make that a bit clearer.
Yeah, in the new year, we'll be able to, at the touch of a button, just show the wind warnings, or just show the rain warnings, just show the red warnings, just show the amber warnings, and so on. So we'll be able to separate them out very easily using the touchscreen, for example, or in our other forecasts. So yeah, we're trying to make them as easy and clear to understand as possible using our own weather graphics, but it's a lot more complicated for the web and the app. However, those things are being looked at because, they are, we want to try and make them as clear as possible. Everyone.
Absolutely. Right, I think it's time. Keep your questions coming in, but we are... So yes, now it is quiz time. Keep your suggestions coming in. Keep your questions coming in about this weekend. We'll get more about the potential for White Christmas, or what we can and can't say about White Christmas in a moment. But let's have a quick quiz. We're going to try and do the polls again. George is going to run the polls so you can answer those. But if you can't work the polls, you can always just put your answers in. 5 questions. We're going on storms. Because Honor actually wrote this quiz for last week, and then we decided not to run the quiz last week because there was so much to say about Dara. So we've got Honor's quiz questions from last week about storms. So that's why we're looking at them this week. So it's 5 questions on storms, multi-choice.
Good.
So you've got a good chance. Some of them are even just, true or false, higher or lower.
I'm embarrassing myself.
So let's see how you do this week, Aidan. Storm Otto. Question 1. Storm Otto was the first named storm of the 22-23 season. Didn't happen until February 23. It was named by the Danish Met Institute, so that's why it began with the letter O, because it was the first storm that year. What was the highest gust recorded across the UK from that storm? A, 73 miles an hour, B, 83 miles an hour, or C, 93 miles an hour. A, B, or C. Get your answers in now. Hopefully George will put a poll in the chat for you to answer. But yeah, A, B, or C. A, 73 miles an hour, B, 83 miles an hour, or C, 93 miles an hour. Storm Otto, back in 2003. What was the strongest gust recorded across the UK?
Storm Otto at the top of the Danish list?
No, I think they just had a lot of storms. All their storms we'd had higher pressure. They'd had a lot. They'd got down to O. I'm assuming.
Far down their list.
Maybe they don't do it alphabetically. I thought they did though. Anyway, Aidan has pinged me his answer. Have we got answers coming in? Nice Snacks giving up on a White Christmas. Julie M is saying B. Granny Ma says A. And Crow Black says, my dog is called Otto. He's a whippet and runs like the wind. Well, that's very, very apt.
What
Crow
speed?
Black.
83 miles an hour, 93.
Yeah, what speed? 93, 83. They're pretty speedy. Them whippets. Right, yes, keep your answers coming in for question 1. Let's get into question 2. All themed around storms this week. Question 2 is, in February 2022, you remember this week, we had 3 named storms in a week. What a week that was. Can you remember the names of these 3 storms? Was it A, Dudley, Eunice and Franklin, B, Darcy, Eunice and Fleur, C, Dudley, Eunice and Francis? So Eunice features in all because that was quite a well-known storm that week.
They've all been named storms.
They have all been named storms.
I recognise them all.
Ooh, do you know what? I don't know about. I think Fleur's been on the list twice and we've never got to it. But I may be wrong.
Right, yeah. Has Freya been on the list twice?
Freya has been on the list, and we had a storm for. I think she's only been on, maybe only on the list once. Anyway, Dudley, Eunice, or Franklin is A. B is Darcy, Eunice, and Fleur. C, Dudley, Eunice, and Francis. Which of those triumvirate of names were the 3 storms we had in a week back in February 2022? That was a busy week, wasn't it?
I remember it very clearly. I'm confident with my answer there.
Citrus Blast says A. Freya is saying it wasn't her. Freya Coulter. Trendy Cosmetics says A. Thomas is saying C. Keep your answers coming in. Claire Mansfield says B. Thank you for those. Right, question 3. Oh, we've got the poll up. I can see the poll now as well. So good work, George, with the polls. Question 3 is coming up. And that is, after these storms, we're talking about the storms of 2022, after these storms, by the 23rd of February, West Yorkshire had recorded 224% of their February long-term average. Is that true or false? True or false? Simple choice. True or false that West Yorkshire, by February the 23rd in 2022, because of all the storms, had recorded 2.25 times of their average February rainfall. Is that true or is that false? Question 3. Get your answers coming in. get it in the poll, or if you can't get the poll working, just get your answers popped
I
in.
had to guess that one.
Paul Murphy.
50-50.
Yeah. The poll is now live. People are answering that. It's true to false, 80-20. Keep your answers coming in. Keep your questions coming in about anything else to do with the weather as well. Anything about what your plans are in the run-up to Christmas. Are you travelling places? Do you need the weather to be nice? Do you want a white Christmas? Does anyone want a white Christmas? Question 4. While you ponder that, let's ponder 4. Ponder 4. Wow. Ponder question 4.
Someone needed more sleep last night.
Let's ponder question 4. September 2015 was the launch when we started naming storms between the Met Office and Met Éireann, KNI. I can't talk properly. The Dutch came in later and joined us, but it was us and Met Éireann started naming wind storms. Storm Abigail, which was the first named storm in November of that year. How many, though, were there in total that year? How many named storms in our first season, 15 to 16? Was it higher or lower than 10? Higher or lower? Higher or lower? Higher, lower? Higher or lower than 10? How many named storms did we have in 2015 into 16? The first year we named storms. Abigail was the first storm. What was the last storm?
See, I know what letter we got up to that year.
Okay, so you're working.
And I know what the name was as well. So I think I've counted, but I know that we don't do all the letters. However, it's the ones at the end of the alphabet, isn't it? So I'm quite confident with my answer here.
Okay, this is good.
I like honours quizzes.
She's good, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes, these are solid, good questions. You're confident. I like your confidence as well. If you're liking the quiz, don't forget to hit like, and that would be good. Give us the thumbs up, and as well as hit subscribe. That would be good. Let's boost the numbers so that more people know about the quiz. Last question, featuring your nemesis, Storm Alex.
Yes.
We often talk about Storm Alex because it usurped Storm Aidan back in 2020. Named by the French, of course, which is why, because our first one was going to be Aidan, but Storm Alex came first.
Overshadowed yet again.
Storm Alex, which is named by the French, hit the UK in October 2020. And on the 3rd of October 2020, we recorded our wettest ever day in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the aftermath of Storm Alex. We recorded 31.7 millimetres of rain on average across the whole of the UK, the wettest day on record, records going back over 100 years. This made it the first time, was that the first time the UK area averaged over 30 millimetres of rain? Is that true or false? So it's 31.7 millimetres of rain recorded on average from Storm Alex, 3rd of October 2020, the wettest day on record in the UK. But was that the first time we'd ever got over 30 millimetres of rain? True or false? True or false? True or false? Answer in the comments. Let's see how they're doing. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, please. That would be good.
Tricky.
Jill Swift says false. Anne Hinch says true. Citrus Blast says false. Bruce Duffy says true. Trendy Cosmetics, true. Claire Mansfield, true. If this helps, enough rain fell that day to fill Loch Ness. Does that help? Enough rain fell across the UK.
Just once? Fill it once or?
Yeah, fill it once.
Okay.
Quite big.
Yeah.
Not fill it, just the rain that fell in Loch Ness, the whole rain. If you took all the rain that fell in the UK.
I think, and this is another stat in our book, I think, if I can remember correctly, enough rain falls across Scotland each year to fill Loch Ness 17 times.
Oh, just good point of reference. And again,
might not be accurate.
Available in all good bookshops. Check it for yourself.
I will check.
You have a quick look. You have a quick butchers, and I'll go through some of the answers. The poll. Oh, this is a tight poll. This one.
Yes, 17.
Oh, good knowledge.
The volume of rain
more impressed that you know which
Scotland.
page to go to.
In an average year, can fill Loch Ness 17 times. If you're Welsh, you might be interested to know that
I'm just going to read stats out from the book.
we've got all 4 countries covered.
It's good to be balanced.
In Wales, 55 times you can fill the Millennium Stadium with the amount of rain that falls each year. I won't go through all the countries, but it's good enough reason that to buy that, but for Christmas, for a loved one, or put it on your list to Santa.
Any Met heads? You know any Met heads? Get them that book. It's very close to a false spot of 50, 51, 49. Right, let's do the answers, shall we? Because you've pinged me all your answers. See how you did. Let us know how you did. Question 1, Storm Otto. First name Storm in 2022, 22, 23. Actually happened in 23. The highest wind gust was B, 83 miles an hour. Spot on. One for Mr. McGivern. Let us know if you got that right. B, 83 miles an hour was the correct answer. February 22, 3 named storms affected the UK in a space of a week. And the answers, the names were Dudley, Eunice and Franklin. You knew that. The week is etched in your brain.
Yeah.
So that was A, Dudley, Eunice and Franklin. After these storms, by the 23rd of Feb, West Yorkshire recorded 224% of their average February rainfall. That was true?
Yes. That was a guess, admittedly, but
Three
it
from
sounded
3, Mr.
sounded
McGivern.
realistic.
3 from 3. How many storms did we get in that first season? Was it higher or lower than 10?
I
What did
believe we
get
got
to?
up to K for Katie, and I counted. That makes 11, so I went with higher than 10.
Absolutely spot on. 11 storms. We did get up to K for Katie. You've got to remember that year. So you're 4 from 4. How's everyone else doing? Last question.
I'm nervous.
Is it a full
Can I get
house?
to 5 for the first time?
Storm Alex, proving to be your nemesis again because you've put false.
Oh no.
And it's actually true. It is true. That was the first time we'd beaten 30 millimetres of rain. It was 29 point something, the previous average before. So the answer was
I
true.
thought it must go up in tiny increments.
No, well, that was why it's quite remarkable. So let us know how you did in the quiz. Thanks to George for putting those polls together. Let us know how you got on. But keep your questions coming in. Can you hit the thumbs up button? That would do us a big favour. Thank you very much. We've had some questions about will it be a white Christmas? So shall we dig into that a little bit?
Let's unveil the snowometer.
The snowometer. Da, da, da.
Hooked
Make
up to the
it happen.
supercomputer. Just have to press on here, and 14,000 quadrillion calculations a second. That's what the supercomputer can do. Here we go. Let's get it into action. And it is saying it's too early to say.
Wow.
Here are the other options. So we're going to put this up a couple of times in the next few weeks, I think, because we'll get closer to the event. We'll be able to say with more confidence. Will it end up on Get Your Sledge Out? Will it be It's Possible? I guess that will depend on where you are. How long will it stay in the middle one? Unlikely, but stay tuned. That could equally be today's answer, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Or better luck next year. But no, in all seriousness, we can say something or other about Christmas week, and that is that through next week, first of all, it's going to turn increasingly unsettled from the middle of the week, low pressure moving in from the west. And then we end up with this kind of pattern which is coming through on the longer range computer models. This is the Met Office output, and what this is showing is the average pressure anomaly for the week of Christmas, so 23rd of December up to the 30th of December. And it's showing higher than average pressure, average through that week, around here, just to the south or southwest of the UK, lower than average pressure across Iceland into Scandinavia. Meanwhile, the European model output is showing roughly the same thing. So higher pressure here, more likely, lower pressure towards Iceland. Now, in this kind of setup, you get an enhanced westerly airflow. So an enhanced westerly airflow means changeable weather. Every day would be different. It would be breezy. It would involve spells of rain, and the winds would oscillate between southwesterlies, which would bring mild weather, and wet weather to west and southwestern parts of the UK, and also more straight westerlies, this kind of setup here where you've got westerlies and temperatures at around average for the time of year. Or, that's the southwesterlies one, isn't it? High pressure to the south. And the possibility of these lows passing through and colder northwesterlies coming through. So the one thing that is possible is that you'd have a weather front clearing the country, and you'd have these colder northwesterlies, and you'd have perhaps some wintry showers across northwestern parts, especially the hills of Scotland. That's the kind of scenario where we'd most likely get a flake of snow falling somewhere in the UK, which would technically make it a white Christmas. And that often happens at this time of year, of course. But there's no signal for particularly cold weather this Christmas. There's no signal for nationwide snowfall, no strong signal at least. And the most likely situation is that we're going to have these westerlies, this sort of unsettled, changeable pattern going through Christmas. So spells of rain, clearing to showers, temperatures chopping and changing each day. One day mild, next day a bit colder, next day mild, and so on. Yeah, the kind of weather we often get in the winter in the UK, in other words.
But we'll have much more next week in particular. So tune in. Make sure you subscribe, because we'll be doing the obviously the week ahead forecast on Monday. The deep dive will probably touch on it as well, and the 10-day trend next week will definitely be covering that Christmas period. So we'll have more of a solid outlook in that. You're recording the 14-day outlook this afternoon, so that'll be on the app later, so you can check that out as well. But just keep up to date with the forecast. Lots of people commenting about the newspapers. Yeah, don't believe the newspapers. Just check in with us, see what we're saying, because it can't be ruled out. But at the moment, it's looking less likely than likely, but it's still just a bit too early to say. But thank you for all your feedback, all your comments. Thanks for all the likes. They're really shot up now, so thank you very much for that. Kevin Bradshaw got 5 out of 5 in the quiz, so well done to Kevin. He could be our winner this week. John Halliwell got 1 out of 5. Unlucky John. Julie M got 1 out of 5, says bottom of the class, but I did see a 0 out of 5 from someone, so you're not quite bottom. Janine Simmons saying she got 0 out of 5. Janine, come on, try harder. We'll be back next week.
Keep watching.
Yeah, keep watching every week. We'll be back next week, and we're going to do it live on the 27th of December as well. So that will be a fun bit of viewing when you're fed up with the family after Christmas Day and Boxing Day. You can watch us live on the 27th. We'll have lots of snow stories then, if you've had any. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And yeah, deep dive next week will touch on White Christmas, so will the 10-day trend. So make sure you've hit subscribe for more on that. But I think that pretty much is it for today, is it?
I think we made it. We made it through.
Yeah, I think we did. A few stumbles. I'm going to warm up my vocal cords a little bit for this afternoon's broadcast. So.
Another cup of coffee and we'll be sorted.
We'll be right as rain. But thank you very much for watching. We do appreciate it. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for all your comments. Please share this. It really is important. You know, hitting share, hitting like does work, does make wonders for the algorithm, and it puts the numbers up, and that means we can keep doing it because we love doing it. We want to do it more. So yeah, please do share the love and hit the thumbs up button. And make sure you've subscribed and follow us right across social media. But yeah, thank you very much for being there, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.